local nonprofit, Akron Rites of Passage Institute, to create an African American history museum as part of what replaces the Inner Belt to help commemorate what was lost. Zaria Johnson, IdeaStream Public Media.
State health officials are concerned about the measles outbreak in Texas. Ohio Health Director Dr. Bruce Vanderhoff says vaccine rates for measles in kindergartners in Ohio dropped from 89% last school year to 88% this current school year. Vanderhoff says he respects parents' right to make vaccination choices for their children, but he says they need to look at the data about the safety of vaccines. IdeaStream Public Media, 834.
Support for NPR comes from the station and from the Council for Interior Design Qualification, whose certified designers work to protect occupants through the design of code-compliant and accessible environments. Learn more at cidq.org/NPR. And from your part-time controller, the nonprofit accounting specialists, providing financial management services to support stronger nonprofits who make the world a better place. Learn more at yptc.com/NPR. This is NPR.
It's Morning Edition from NPR News. I'm Martinez in Los Angeles, California.
And I'm Layla Faldin in Washington, D.C. Good morning. New research shows what living in extreme heat does to our bodies, and it's not good. A study in the journal Science Advances says living through lots of hot days really adds up. NPR's Alejandra Barreta reports.
Every year, heat waves send people to the hospital for short-term sicknesses like heat stroke. The doctors also know that heat exposure is linked with long-term health problems like worsened heart disease. Eunyoung Chae is a researcher at the University of Southern California. She led the new research, and she says heat waves
Could actually be taking a silent toll at the cellular or the molecular level in our body.
So that's what she and her colleagues looked for. Evidence that living through prolonged heat affected people's DNA.
DNA is fixed. We can never change our DNA.
But DNA can be modified. That happens through
DNA methylation acts like a light switch for genes, so it can turn them on and off.
Scientists often use methylation as a marker of biological age. Researchers call it epigenetic aging.
We know that some people seem to age faster than others, and that's because biological aging doesn't always match chronological aging.
Epigenetic aging can happen because of a poor diet or not enough exercise.
It is highly responsive to environmental exposures like stress, pollution, and in this case, heat.
Jay and her colleagues figured out that there's a big epigenetic difference between people who lived in places with 90-degree plus days for nearly half the year, think Phoenix, than in cooler places like Seattle. Lots of heat exposure over several years added up to about 14 months of extra epigenetic aging.
That means you're going to start to get, early symptoms of dementia and diabetes and all these other health conditions about a year and 2 months earlier.
That's Deborah Carr. She's a gerontologist at Boston University who wasn't involved in the research.
To lay people, that might not seem like that much, but if that's something that takes you out of the workforce for a year, that makes you go to the doctors every day for a year, that increases your medication budget, right? It really can have tremendous impacts for older adults.
In fact, it's a health cost comparable to smoking. Tom Clanton is a physiologist at the University of Florida who wasn't involved in the research. He previously looked at how heat exposure affects mouse genetics. In mice and humans, it's clear that heat exposure can have long-term impacts, like heart disease later in life. And this work, he says, starts to map out exactly why.
You sort of accelerate your way towards, an old heart, an old vulnerable heart.
Carr says you can think of it another way, too. If every older person